Okay guys, I'll be honest, I don't want to waste any of your time. Let's just talk about the iPads from today's Apple events. Okay, let's first talk about the iPad that got the biggest change this year, and that is the iPad Air. And honestly, when I saw this iPad show up at the event, I was really excited to see that iPad Pro form factor had actually come to something like the iPad Air. So first of all, let's talk about everything that's going to be happening with the iPad Air. When you go to purchase it, you're going to have the choice between silver, space gray, rose gold, green, and sky blue. So definitely a lot more colors, and especially since this is going to be a huge device among students, that's a really good move. Next up, the storage options. You get two choices, 64 gigabytes and 256. And honestly, I would have liked to see 128 gigabytes, but I can understand for this price that they've got to put 64 gigabytes. Next up, the design. Basically with this iPad, you're getting the 11-inch iPad Pro design, which is really nice because it's an edge-to-edge display. You're getting, instead of that 11 inches, you're getting 10.9, which is, again, basically the same thing. You're getting a laminated display, which is especially good if you're using an Apple Pencil, and then of course your Retina display, which means colors are going to look really good, and overall it's going to be a really nice looking screen. Next up is something that I was honestly a little bit skeptical about because Apple has never really done this before, but that is a Touch ID sensor in the power button. Now honestly, Face ID would have been really nice, but again, this isn't the Pro model, it is that Air model, and even the fact that it's an edge-to-edge display, I would take that with Touch ID over, having the home button again. And with that iPad Pro form factor, you're also going to get the smart connectors for the updated Magic Keyboard, which is really nice to see, giving you the option if you want to have it. Of course, there's going to be a connector for the Apple Pencil Generation 2, so if you want to use that instead of the first gen, you always have that option as well. Something else that's pretty interesting and that I didn't see in any of the leaks that I saw is USB-C on this iPad. USB-C and then a 20-watt charger that comes in the box. Now, USB-C itself obviously has its own pros, so it's really nice to see that they're incorporating that into the iPad Air. And next up, this iPad is getting the A14 chip. And now, if you don't care about necessarily the numbers and how many nanometers it is, basically what this means, right, is that this iPad is going to be 40 times faster than an A12. Or for comparison, it's going to be 40 times faster than the speed of the 2019 Air, which, by the way, was already really fast and could get a lot of tasks done, especially for students. Not to mention, this means a lot better graphics. So if you're somebody like me that has video edited on the iPad before, or of course, video games. Again, when it comes to the cameras that's going to be on this iPad, rather than looking at the specs, here's what you can look at for comparison. The back camera is going to have 4K up till 60 frames per second on the rear camera, and then on the selfie camera or the FaceTime camera, it's going to have 1080p video. So pretty nice quality cameras for both the front and the back of this iPad. This iPad is also going to have stereo speakers, up till 10 hours of battery life, which is really nice, especially for students that need to use this throughout the entire day. And the price is going to be starting at $599. $549 if you get the education pricing. And for all the Canadians that are watching, that means $779 with $719 Canadian if you want to use the education discount. So personally, why I think this iPad is going to work really well, especially this year, is because of that price. You're basically getting everything that you would want in the Pro, but then at a cheaper price, a price that is more affordable for students. Next up, the internals. The iPad Air was already really fast, and now with the A14, it's getting even faster. So working on assignments, switching through tabs, multitasking, video editing, if you do that, it's all going to be a lot more quick, a lot more snappy on this iPad. And finally, that updated design. Not only does it look way better without those large chunky bezels, but it also adds some functionality. If you're somebody like me who takes notes with their iPad, you're going to be able to do that, and it's going to be a lot more of a better experience this time because you have all of that screen real estate. Next up is the iPad 8th generation, and that's again going to have color options such as silver, space gray, and gold. And with the base model, you're going to get the options for 32 gigabytes or 128 gigabytes. Both those choices are really nice, and even though 32 gigabytes may seem like not a lot, you can really stretch that 32 gigabytes depending on the way that you use it, and for students that are doing the bare essentials, it's definitely going to be enough. Now, when it comes to design, it's still going to have that same look from last year, but I mean, you do get the smart connector, and this is the budget iPad, so it's not necessarily something to be complained about. But something else that's pretty interesting is that even though it connects via Lightning, the power brick itself is actually USB-C, so that can be pretty interesting, especially for students students, because what that means for us is faster data transfer and possibly faster charging. With regards to the screen, you're still getting that 10.2-inch design, and from what I saw on the website, it does not seem like there's any lamination on this screen, which could be something that turns you off from it, especially with how good the iPad Air looks. Something that's really nice to see is that this iPad gets the A14 chip, which means that it's going to have the exact same speed as the 2019 Air, which is definitely enough for students. And if you're going for this budget model, that definitely means that it's going to be enough for you to get by. And this also means that you're going to get better graphics with gaming and whatever it is that you do on your iPad. With regards to the camera, on the back you'll be able to get 1080p video at 30 frames per second, and on the front you get 720p video, which, I mean, given everything that's going on, it would have been nice to see a better camera, especially for, Google Meets or Google Classroom where you need a conference with your teachers and students. But again, this is the budget model, nothing to complain about there. This device has stereo speakers and again 10 hours of battery life, which is really nice to see, especially if you're going to be using this a lot for school. And finally, the price is going to be starting at $329, $299 if you're going to be using the education pricing. And again, for all my fellow Canadians, that's going to be $429, $399 if, again, you use the education pricing. And I really do think that this is going to be a really nice option for students. Obviously, I've used the 2018 6th generation, and I've been really happy with that before. But now you're getting even better internals. We're talking 2019 iPad Air speeds along with better graphics. And honestly, at that price point, there really isn't a lot that can compete with what the iPad has to offer and all the features that it can give to you when you use it. Regardless of all the other tablets that you look at, you're really not going to get that bang for buck that you get with the iPad that comes in so cheap yet provides so much. So that's why I think it's going to be a good option for students. Those up-to-date internals, and of course that really, really nice price point that really no other competitor can hit. And that's all the information that we got from this Apple event and from the website. Obviously, if you want to check out the products that I mentioned, the link will be in the description. And if you're excited about the upcoming iPads, let me know in the comments which one you're excited for. I think that I'm leaning more towards the iPad Air, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching. New video next week.